Okay, now one of the aspects of riding in the rain is when the ride is over, what do you do? Well, now you've got wet clothes, you've got wet shoes, you're wet. We got your bicycle has been uh, exposed to the elements, so you got to take care of all these things. The most important thing you have to do at the end of the ride is get into dry clothes. As soon as you can, change your clothes, get out of the wet clothes that you've been riding in, and get some nice dry, get a towel and get some nice dry clothes. If you before you even get dressed, if you have access to a shower or something, it's good to take a good shower at that point, and then get yourself calmed down, get yourself settled in, and then you can start to take care of the things you have to do. And I would do them somewhat in this order. Depending if you're going to ride again the next day, your clothing. Your clothing should be set out and spread out so that it will dry. And if you're wearing the same shorts again, now's the time to wash them, get them clean up, and so that they can dry. You can wash everything if you wish at that point, but get stuff so that it can be dried. And if you're away from home and in a hotel, one of the things I do is I take, after I'm done with my shower and my towel is now slightly damp, I roll up initially my clothes in that towel so that the moisture tends to absorb into the towel. And then you can, after a little while, you can put the towel somewhere else and continue to dry. A really difficult thing is getting your shoes dried, and an old trick that I've used for 30 or 40 years now is when you're done, get some newspaper, don't read it, crumble it up, and newspapers are getting harder anymore. You can't do anything with the electrons. Everybody has electronic news on their computers or cell phones, but get some real newspaper, not the glossy stuff, but real newspaper. Crumble it up, put it in the shoe, and then put the shoe not too close to a source of heat, but maybe near the air conditioner if you have one, or dehumidifier, something where the air has had the moisture wrung out of it, and that the newspaper itself will tend to absorb the moisture from your shoes and dry them out rather quickly. You might want to even, if you have to, an hour or so, change them and then take care of take the paper out and replace it and continue to dry that way. But you find that little trick will be very helpful in the long run. The next thing you have is your bike. And you know, your trusty steed has really gone through some hard work to get you through the ride. And you need to clean it down, clean the brake surfaces on the rims, clean your brake pads, because now a little grit and stuff gets in there, and the next day that'll just work its way. It'll be an awful mess. And clean everything down. It's best just to hose it down at that point if you can, because there's a lot of little dirt particles that have come up from the road. They're all over the bike, they're all over everywhere. And your chain needs to be cleaned at this point, because that has taken an awful toll. If I'm on the road, the simplest thing to do is to take some WD-40, use that to clean the chain, wipe it down, keep wiping it down, WD-40. But WD-40 is not a good lubricant, okay? Once you've done that, the WD-40 will clean the chain and get the water out. Then relube it with, whether you use a dry or a wet lube, then do it, and so that you can be ready again for the next day. Professionals, of course, have their team mechanics to do all that work for them, but you're sort of stuck on your own, and as I am at home. And make sure you clean it out, because especially get that chain clean, because it has now had all the lubricant that was in there gone. It's been washed away from the constant water beating against it. So you need to take care of those things after the bike, and then you're ready to ride the next day or the next time. Well, I've saved this topic for last in my filming of it because it's the most controversial, and I don't want to get into arguments about it. Listen to what I have to say, make your own judgment, do research on the internet if you wish, but you'll find that opponents and proponents of either way of doing what I'll talk about will give you very good scientific reasons as to why you shouldn't follow their particular method. And I want to talk about tire pressure because during the rain we've already discussed the fact that you have less traction and that you have other problems. Now there is a school of thought that says deflate your tires a bit when riding in the rain. It's better for you. And then there's a school that says don't do that because if you do, you might increase the patch, which increases the potential for water planing and actually would reduce your ability. You know, people will come up with good evidence for either one of them. Personally, when I raced years ago, I would have, if I were going out of town, I would have 3 or 4 sets of wheels. And each one of these sets of wheels would have different tires that were used for different applications. And when I knew it was going to rain, I would put on my crosshatch tires. They had a pattern that was like this, if I can describe that. And so it was like a rough surface, and that would be better for traction. Many tire manufacturers put little, you'll see maybe on the ones that you have, little lines that go out from the tire. These are little lines. It's called siping. It's very similar to what's on your cars, and this siping tends to, if there's a water patch where the patch of tire that touches the road squashes water in between it and the road, those little lines take the water away and make the traction a little better. So if very few people would go out and have all these different tires set up and be prepared for that. But if you're a racer, you do that because you know the different conditions, you need to be prepared for them. So I would think that you could straddle the argument about tire pressure, and I'll do it this way. If you feel that the reduced pressure on your tire doesn't increase your ability, your potential for pinch flats that much, go to the bottom side of the recommended pressure that's on the side of the tire that's recommended by the manufacturer. Go to the minimum. If you are on a smooth surface and you feel you can handle a bike, you can go above that if you wish. But whatever you do, if you reduce the pressure in your tires, don't reduce it below the value that is established by the manufacturer. That's the safest thing to do. Those manufacturers know what they're doing. They tested their tires under many conditions, and they don't want you to run at really low pressures because you've got sidewall problems, you got pinch flat problems, you got all the other issues. If you believe that a higher pressure tire will cause more slippage on the road, then reduce it a little bit, but staying within the range. If you have the ability to do so, get tires with siping on the sides, not just smooth. A smooth tire will give you better speed under dry conditions, but if you think that you might be riding under mixed conditions, buy tires with the little siping and the stuff that takes the water away, and so that you can put the potential edge in your own favor. So when you get to the line or you're starting out and it's raining, consider the fact that all the things I've talked about, that you're not going to have the traction, you're not going to have the braking that you would have under dry conditions, and that you might want to consider doing something different with your tires or have different tires for that purpose. So with that in mind, ride safe, be careful, and be aware of your conditions that are all around you.